Without a doubt, one of the nicest and smartest smartphones to use, but with other options out there like the iPhone 15 Pro Max, the Galaxy S23 Ultra, and the S24 Ultra, is the Google Pixel 8 Pro still a decent option in 2024 when it comes to a flagship phone?
Got my friends in the back of my roller. We gon' make it big one day. We gon' make it big, I say. We gon' make it big.
I'm Alex and I do down-to-earth tech videos. In my initial reviews of the Pixel 8 Pro, I really didn't have much to complain about. And just last week when I did my phone of the year for 2023, if you watched that, you know that the S23 Ultra won by a mile in my opinion, but from a cost-benefit perspective, at that time, and still up until now, I have to give it to the Pixel. I think right now you can get a Pixel 8 Pro for $799 in the US, and to me, that's still pretty competitive. Like I said, up until now, things are about to change very quickly, as you know later on. And when I say this is one of the nicest smartphones to use, I really mean it. It has so many cool features that I wish we had on other phones as well. And even though this is not my main phone, I haven't ditched my S23 Ultra for this, the Pixel 8 Pro is ultimately still very friendly to use with very intuitive software as well. Definitely has me reaching for it a little bit more than usual because of how friendly and how nice it is to use. I'll talk about the processor and performance as well, which there's some concerns around that in a bit, but there's a lot of software goodness packed in here that we mustn't ignore. When it comes to the design, I have a bit of an annoyance, which for me was probably an unpopular opinion actually in my videos, but I still stand by it. The back of the phone feels more slippery than the previous Pixel models. It looks nicer, it doesn't collect like a lot of fingerprints on it, and everyone is saying that this matte finish is less slippery. Not for me, it's really like a bar of soap right now. And look, Google didn't send me these phones for review, but even if they did, I'd find this one quite hard to ignore, it's one of those things that is just fact, it is more slippery. But that really is a minor thing because I actually like the design, right? It's got this visor in here, which I use it as almost like a fidgety thing to hold the phone as well. It is 100% the most ergonomic phone to use at this level, kind of this flagship level. When you're using it for long periods of time, and 3 months on, that's still the case for me. It's very, very comfortable to use. In the evenings when I'm relaxing, it's either the Fold because of that, that mini tablet display and the bigger display that I do enjoy, or the Pixel 8 Pro because it's just that much more comfortable to use, even in comparison with my S23 Ultra or the 15 Pro Max. This is just lighter, it's got these rounded corners, a flatter design, it's just nice to hold as well. It's just very well balanced. Some protective cases will completely make this argument null and void, right? But I've been enjoying these cases here from Mouse. I'm not sponsored by them or anything. They're just very nice and they don't kind of take away from the design. They feel even nicer and grippier as well. And they look cool as well. Now, when it comes to performance, I compared this with the S23 Ultra and the 15 Pro Max. And for everything that I do, either on content creation or my admin work outside of YouTube, the difference is really negligible in terms of performance. Is it noticeably slower than other phones? Honestly, only when you're playing really intensive games or running something really kind of high intensive. Editing photos, watching content, multitasking, or even playing games in general feel really snappy actually. There's not a lot to complain when it comes to performance in here. I do love One UI, but Android here on the Pixel just feels very clean, very smooth to use for the majority of people, including myself. 99% of the time when I'm not like stress testing the phone, you don't notice any slowness at all. I love for the multi-window setup in here to be a little bit more fluid, more modern looking, but at least it's there and it's something that I really miss when I hop on the 15 Pro Max, for example. You can't run multiple apps at the same time on the same screen. Now, this is Google's flagship, and sure, the processor is not the latest in terms of technology, which is a shame. What's available in the market is not what's out here. But like I said, for normal day-to-day use, it's really not going to be a problem for you. And the reason I'm kind of hammering this point a little bit is because if you watch a lot of the reviews out there, everyone is complaining about this Tensor G3 and how slow it is, but it's just slower than what's available out there. It doesn't mean it's going to be slow for you using it day to day. I do have to call out something that Google did recently that caught my eye a little bit, right? I mentioned this in my previous review as well. Google basically blocked benchmark software from running on the Pixel, and my opinion on this hasn't really changed 3 months later. But forgetting benchmarks, now let's talk about real performance. Benchmarks are cool, but numbers on a screen don't really tell the whole story, right? How a phone feels in your hand, how apps run on it, that's to me what really matters. On the days when I do decide to use the Pixel almost exclusively, I've been using this phone pretty hard, right? I go out and I take photos, I record videos, and it's fast. The battery could be better, and sure, some games like Genshin Impact are not going to be running at the top frame rates, and shader building is very slow to launch as well on first launch. I can't deny that it's weird, even compared to other flagships. But here's my theory. Some apps and games just are not optimized for this Tensor chip yet. I'm not an expert. The bottom line though, when it comes to how I review smartphones, benchmarks are just part of the puzzle. I never recommend a phone based on numbers alone. I might use it and kind of see how that translates in normal day-to-day use, and I'll tell you how it feels, how it performs in everyday use, and that's what really matters, right? At least that's what I look for as a consumer myself when I'm watching these reviews. Now, the display on the Pixel 8 Pro is extremely smooth. I know some people complain about this, but honestly, I don't see any issues with the display at all. I think the improvement they made in here is actually quite noticeable as well, especially when it comes to the brightness. Very responsive. I don't have a screen protector on most of my phones anyway, but I really enjoy typing on the Pixel, The haptics are great, and the fingerprint sensor here, works every time. Actually, that's true for face recognition as well. Very accurate. And one thing on the display that I'm not quite sure yet, I keep switching between having adaptive brightness on and off. But right now in the winter months, this is 4 p.m. and it's, as you can tell, quite dim light already. So I find that turning the adaptive brightness off works well for me. But this will come down to your preference, of course, but the reason I like it especially is because at night it seems that the minimum brightness will also be really dim. And I enjoy that because at night I might want to use my smartphones, but I don't want to be exposed to a lot of light, which is not great for my sleep anyway. As I said, the battery isn't great. It does suit me fine, and I appreciate that this might not work for you if you're a kind of heavy user, but I'm getting about 7 hours on a heavy day, and for me that's perfectly okay. And being transparent, as I said, this is not my main device at all. It gets a fair amount of use when I do decide to use it, but I still use my S23 Ultra most days as my main device. When I'm doing these reviews, I do spend some days, with my main SIM card on it, and doing things that you would do normally, like testing call quality as well, as you've seen probably before. But I just thought it was worth mentioning so that you don't get the impression that, I've switched from one phone to another. I'm spending enough time with it just to give you this review, but yeah, don't get the wrong impression there. Now, a lot of focus is put on cameras when it comes to any smartphones, right? And as a regular dad, right, all I'm interested in sometimes when it comes to these phones is, do the photos and videos look good when I'm taking photos of my child and my pets? And the picture quality on the Pixel is, it's hard to beat them. But sure, there are some weird limitations and quirks about the cameras here, but what I think you care about is the output. And, as you can see here, they really deliver on this. But let me level with you. We kind of already knew that about the Pixel 8 Pro, right? It was always going to be amazing with photos. That's always been the case. But what about video? That hasn't been great in the past, right? Well, when it comes to video quality now, I have to say it's the first Pixel that is able to compete. Maybe, no, it's not better than the iPhone or better than the S23 Ultra, but there are situations, depending on the lens or the lighting, that you're getting really decent videos now. It's a lot smoother, you don't see a lot of over sharpening at all, way more natural looking than the Pixel 7, for example, or Pixel 6 even, or the Pixel 6 Pro was horrendous for video in my opinion. Now with the Pixel 8 Pro, I'm really impressed, but if you want to, you can take it up a level as well and use more kind of pro features, and I gotta say, they really don't disappoint here. As you can see in these samples here, some very smooth footage, great dynamic range as well. I've had some really challenging situations here, sometimes with the sun in the background, some darker areas, and the detail is all there, no over sharpening, very smooth footage. They have this pan mode, which is really cool. It basically adds even more stabilization to your shots, so great for product photography or maybe, kind of some portrait videos. But honestly, even the regular stabilization is already amazing for me, right? In low light videos on the Pixel, yeah, really good quality now. And a little disclaimer here, the time of recording, I was meant to have like the video boost feature that they claimed 3 months ago. But here we are, 3 months later, and still not available for me. I've got the latest version of Android 14, downloaded the December update, but I've heard that some people got it already, but it seems to be kind of a staged rollout, and I'll have to wait to report on that. And talking of which, we can't talk about the Pixel 8 Pro cameras and not mention AI features. Even though we can do some of these things on Samsung and other phones, there's a clear difference here in how friendly it is to use AI features on the Pixel. I'm excited for the S24 Ultra, 100% behind that, and what Galaxy AI will bring to the party as well in this aspect, but I hope it's as friendly as the Pixel is, or even better, of course. From the voice assistant, which is amazing, to the post-processing of photos and videos, and audio as well, right? Pixel makes all of these AI features super easy to use and quite fun to use as well. There are some limitations, like with the audio feature, there's a limit of I think 3 minutes videos, but it's a start, and for most use cases 3 minutes is long enough anyway. But that fun aspect is really important to me. Everything's moving really fast in this space, and it's great to see that Google, are embracing it and making it part of the device, because like I said, it just makes it a lot more fun to use, which is something that's been missing with other brands. Now, before we move on and talk about my experience in connectivity and gaming and audio quality, the connectivity on the Pixel. Whenever I take it outside and travel with it, the Pixel has been great. I'm not exaggerating here. I've had both strong carrier and network connectivity here in the UK, but also really decent Wi-Fi connectivity, no issues whatsoever. Whether I'm at home or a cafe or any random place that has a Wi-Fi, it's been consistently good. It's not something that I can say about other devices or tablets, right? I did a call quality test as well in my original review, which was really surprising too. So if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link down below for you. You might be asking, call quality on YouTube? Yeah, I did do that. I love playing games on smartphones whenever I get a bit of time and a chance to play. But there is one game that I use for testing smartphones that I have to say is definitely noticeable how it performs worse on the Pixel when I compare with other flagship phones, even like the S23 Ultra, which is almost a year old now. Well, it is a year old. The game is Genshin Impact, and some reviews may not even mention this because honestly, you have to play for a while to notice it. Within 10-15 minutes, you might not see it, but after you play for a little while, you definitely start to see that the Pixel is just not pushing the same FPS as other phones. Even without running like a scientific test here, it's easy to notice just with the naked eye that you're dropping some frames. It's a little bit laggy here, and I don't know if it's getting warm and it's the heat that is doing that. And to be fair, I'm kind of cranking up all the settings to the max, because I want to really push and see how it performs. So this Tensor G3 chip does feel like it could do with a bump for specific scenarios like playing, high intensive games. But for casual gaming, as you can see here, it's absolutely fine. It does get pretty warm, like I said, after a good 30 to 40 minutes of gameplay, but I wouldn't say it overheats like the 15 Pro Max does. And just to clarify, in case you're wondering, the 15 Pro Max, when I say overheats, it goes above 115 Fahrenheit, which for me is a little bit too high. Sometimes 120 Fahrenheit, which is over 40 degrees Celsius. It's crazy. I almost forgot. If you're enjoying this video, please leave a like. I mean, it's one of those things that I don't usually like to ask. I don't ever like to ask, but we're so close to getting to 100k, and liking this video, even though it feels insignificant, it's a major help because that's what gets the channel discovered out there. And I mean, don't like if you don't like the content, but if you are enjoying it, it would really help me. And if you're new here, have a look around the channel later on, and if you like my stuff, it would be awesome if you subscribed. I'm here at least once a week with a new down-to-earth tech video for you. If I was to summarize the things that I like and dislike about the Pixel 8 Pro so far, in these 3 months of course, there are a couple of things. First, the things that I like. The camera magic, right? Google's computational photography, for now and for me, still reigns supreme. Ask me again in a few weeks after the S24 Ultra and we might have a different opinion then, but I've been able to achieve stunning low light shots, and the new 5x telephoto lens has a really cool look to it, almost to the point where you can't really tell it was taken with a smartphone. It's really, really good. Not only from a zoom perspective or how close you can get to stuff, but purely from an aesthetics perspective. There's something about this depth and the natural look in this lens that I really, really like. And then there's the Google goodness, shall we say, right? From a software perspective, it's one of the cleanest, most intuitive Android experience you'll find. I haven't tested every Android phone out there, but I really, really enjoy stock Android. I'd go as far as saying that it's got the best assistant out of all the smartphones right now. And I know that's not saying much because, Bixby and Siri, they're not great anyway. Now, for my dislikes, or the things that I think Google has room for improvement, number one is the performance hiccups. Some users, myself included, will never notice any moments of lag whatsoever, right? But they are there, especially in certain games, as you've seen here. But I've also seen people kind of launching resource-intensive apps and having those little lags. Google is saying that they are working on software updates to optimize performance, so hopefully these stutters and lags will become a thing of the past soon, but it's worth noting that you really have to look for those things. And as I said, if you're considering this phone, don't take that as the one reason why you're not buying it, because what I call normal usage, you're really not going to notice any stutters at all. The second issue for me is the battery. Not really been an issue for me personally, but I can see this not being great if you're a heavy user. It doesn't quite match the endurance that we get in some of the competitors. And if you're not able to get a decent deal, that 7, sometimes 8-hour battery could be a deal breaker. Again, hopefully with some software updates, we can squeeze some extra juice out of this battery, but for now, if you're a heavy user, I'd say it's worth carrying a portable charge just in case. I actually reviewed a couple on the channel and I'll leave a link to them if you're interested. To answer the question I asked at the beginning of the video, is the Google Pixel 8 Pro still worth it? In the UK, at the time of recording, if you're buying from Google directly, I would say no. Even though it's being reduced to £899, it's £100 cheaper. It still feels a little bit expensive when you consider other options out there. In North America though, you can get a brand new Pixel 8 Pro for $799. And that to me starts to become interesting, right? That is an awesome deal actually. If you can get a decent deal like that, it's definitely still worth it. So if you're considering this phone, just keep an eye for those updates that I mentioned here and what Google will do in the next couple of months. And if you already made your mind up and that's the phone you're getting, just enjoy the fun that you're gonna have with all the, the magic of AI that you already have on the Pixel. See you soon.
Finally got my friends in the back on my roller. We gon' make it big one day. We gon' make it big, I say. We gon' make it big, just stay in the mood.